Oh, hey there, boy, or girl, or neither. I don't discriminate. Are you looking for something fun to do over the weekend? Well, good for you. Destiny 2's new raid, Root of Nightmares, have just come out, and I can't do this country accent anymore. The newest raid in Destiny 2, Root of Nightmares, is certainly a fun experience with a ton of engaging mechanics, and is definitely going to be fun for the entire fire team. Now, it wouldn't be a Destiny 2 video unless there was some white guy that normally wears glasses sitting in front of a camera being overly critical of what Bungie has made, and that is exactly what I intend to do. In this video, I will be giving a grade to the raid Root of Nightmares. How this is going to work is there's going to be 5 different categories. I'm going to give each one of these categories a score out of 10, and then after that, I'm going to add or subtract any bonus points that I feel like adding or subtracting, because let's be honest, this is all arbitrary anyway. Once I've done that, I'll be able to give a grade to this raid, and then hopefully, if this is successful enough, I should be able to make this a series on every single raid and other activity in this game. So if you like this content, be sure to lick that like button and subscribe for more. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So this is the easiest one to go over, the design of this raid. The design of Root of Nightmares is honestly incredible. It's definitely the best part about the raid. It's one of the best environments in the game, hands down, next to Deepstone Crypt and the raid that shall not be named. And the music, ooh, the music slaps. Man, these tracks are great. Honestly, it's perfect. Yeah, there's a really weird thematic left turn with the encounter macrocosm, and I'll get into that encounter later. I do really like it. However, at the same time, it thematically doesn't make much sense in terms of everything else going on in the raid. Again, not a bad encounter. I really like it. It's one of my favorites in the game, but it's just strange that we've been doing all this stuff outside with gardening and pruning trees and pressing bubbles, and then all of a sudden, plants. Explain that one, Bungie. Anyways, for the design of this raid, I'm going to have to give it a very solid 9 out of 10. Pretty much perfect, very little to criticize except for there isn't enough of it because they decided they wanted to have a room with planets, I guess. Here we start to get into the meat and potatoes of this raid with the puzzles. The puzzles here are fairly simple, but that's not exactly bad. I wish there was a little bit more of a difficulty gate on these things over a time gate. It feels like all of them are just beat as fast as possible over any sort of engaging mechanic. You just go from point A to point B, shooting everything in a frantic manner without much thought. Again, that's not technically a problem, however, I still do wish that these puzzles had more depth. Now, the jumping puzzle does actually have more depth to it, however, when has a jumping puzzle ever been hard? Let's be real here. The biggest complaint that everyone has seems to be that the platforms that you launch across the chasms with can just send you off to Neverland if they feel like it. I've never had a problem with these as long as you aren't moving or standing on the very edge of the launch platform, but I do understand that it's a pretty unanimous community concern, so I have to put it in here because otherwise I would get killed. Never again. So for the puzzles, I'm going to give them a 6.5 out of 10. They're not bad per se, they're just really easy and kind of eh. Next, we're gonna go over the bosses. The bosses in this raid are great. The ones that we have. Yeah, there's only 2 bosses, which is kind of lame. I really do wish that this raid had at least 3 boss encounters. I think that would be a perfect number, but alas, here we are. Can't exactly go back and edit the raid now. The first boss is Macrocosm, and I am not even gonna try to pronounce that name. This is up there with one of my favorite encounters in the game. Not only is it frantic, but it's also fun and very beautiful. But again, it's kind of out of place, but that's not really a problem here. It's incredibly engaging and also a nice callback if you paid attention to the trailers. Now, I will say that the boss isn't much of a DPS check. It's kind of easy to get the mechanic and stuff like that. However, I still do very much like this encounter for what it tries to be. And then next up we have Nezarec. I think the boss might actually, like, unironically be bugged, because we should not be able to just stand on a platform, hit the well button, and then just... If the boss does get fixed to what I think it should be, in that Nezarec will just jump up on the platform and knock us off, then I think this is actually going to be a very fun and engaging encounter. However, in the state that it's in, oof, it is really bad. You just kind of sit in one place, and Witherhoard, Starfire Protocol, Rocket Launcher, Starfire Protocol, Rocket Launcher. There you go, have your day 1 emblem. Here you go. Oh gee, I wonder how many people got the day 1 emblem. Oh, would you look at that? I hope that the boss is supposed to be a kind of run and gun thing. If it stays in the state that it's in, that's really bad. If it does go to what I think it should be, then that will actually be very good and very fun. However, I'm going to have to rate it on what the state that it's actually in. So for the bosses, I'm going to have to give the score an 8 out of 10. I really like Macrocosm, and I think that Nezarec is supposed to be really good. It doesn't matter, both of them are really fun, but at the same time, I wish there were more of them. Anyways, the section that I completely forgot to do for some reason was raid rewards, and the rewards in this raid are actually really good. I loved the armor sets. I liked the Warlock armor that had like the 2 arms. I thought that was neat. The other armor kind of looks just like bug spider sets, but they're still unique and awesome in their own right. However, I did not like the Warlock bond. I would show it to you, but I would get banned for doing so. The raid weapons are also great. Finally, we got a good auto rifle, but also things like the shotgun and the sidearm have been terrorizing PvP and PvE for a couple of days now. The raid exotic itself has also been everywhere in the Crucible, and its unique mechanic is honestly really awesome. Having both solar and stasis, I find that very entertaining and very fun to mess around with. I do like the emblems for this raid, however, I think the other Triumph stuff like the shaders, the sparrows, and the ships are much better than the emblems themselves. I think there's better in the game. However, I do still really like these rewards, so I'm going to give the raid rewards for Root of Nightmares an 8 out of 10. Now we have to go over one of the most important parts of this entire video. Raid function. Yes, there are very few issues overall with the raid, or at least I've had very few issues with mechanics breaking. But I have noticed that there are a lot of people who have noticed bugs in this raid and or things that just will randomly go wrong for seemingly no reason. The encounters work really well, but if you do one thing wrong, everything can come to a screeching halt and you're going to have to start over from the beginning, which really doesn't feel that fun. I think this raid flows beginning to end very well, and obviously the whole mechanic of the trees actually growing, you're not actually getting closer to it, you know, shtick is fine, but even though it's one of my favorite encounters in the game, I can admit that Macrocosm is a really weird left turn in the middle of this raid that has usually just been about gardening on crack. It feels honestly like it was intended for another raid because all of the mechanics in Macrocosm have nothing to do with anything else in the entire raid, except for killing Centurions, I guess? So overall for raid function, I'll give this a 6.5 out of 10. Yes, it does function correctly most of the time. However, sometimes it feels like things are very out of place or will stop your progress abruptly, which doesn't feel nice at all. Here's the part of the video where I'm just going to hand out bonus points based on what I liked or didn't like, but didn't really fit in any other category. So first of all, I'm going to take away a point for how short that this raid is. A raid being short is not necessarily bad, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, based on the expectations we have from all the raids that have come out in the past, what, 4 years now? Raids really aren't this short. This is more of the length of a raid layer, in fact, which, if that's how it was advertised, that might be fine, but this is advertised as a full-length raid, so it does feel like you're getting a little bit cheaped out. Again, not too much of a problem, that's why I only took away 1 point, but I still need to mention it. Also, I'm going to be taking away 2 points for the day 1 raid because I'm going to be adding a point for the sound effects. I don't know, I just really liked the sound design on this raid, so whoever did this, y'all did amazing. You killed it. I love the sounds of like the trees and when you shoot the bubbles and they make that cool noise and all the things that are in Macrocosm. My gosh, the sound design in that encounter is amazing. I love it when the sandstorm starts and then when you like move the I'm sorry, I'm just gonna nerd out over this encounter. That thing is amazing. And then I'm also going to add another point for the first encounter. A lot of first encounters can be just boring slogs that have nothing to do with the rest of the raid, but this encounter just throws you right in the fire, which honestly, I love to death. So it's gonna get an extra point for that. After all of that calculation, what grade would I give Root of Nightmares? This raid is gonna get, drumroll please, a 73. In my opinion, anything over 50 is better than average, so this is still a good raid. However, I do have to mention something that you probably have already picked up on from this video's entire bit. This raid comes with a lot of asterisks. Yeah, the raid is beautiful. Yes, the music is amazing. Yes, the environment is so fun to explore. However, the bosses, there's only 2 of them. The mechanics can sometimes break on you. Sometimes things will just come to a complete stop and there's nothing you could have done. I've had a ton of fun with this raid, but it definitely has its problems. I'm going to be running this raid in the future, however, it's certainly not at the top of my list. I do like this raid, however, it kind of feels like the McDonald's of raids. Like, yeah, it's good, but I could get something better. All I hope from this is that Bungie learns from their mistakes and admits where they're wrong, and that players are just thankful for what they got, and that they can point out criticisms without being overly violent about it. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I'm going to continue making these videos if you guys like them, so once again, be sure to click that like button, and I'll see you all in the next one. See ya!
Your time is up.